What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to 8 Cubes, the show where Lamby Series and I go over the 8 most important topics in Marvel Snap, starting with today our patch wish lists. As we all know by this point, the next Marvel Snap patch will be on December 5th, and there will be minimal changes to the game made between now and between then and the next patch, because Second Dinner is committed to apparently giving their workers time off for the holidays, which generally I commend. So, because there are going to be minimal changes, what are you looking for in this patch to make the next month of Marvel Snap more palatable?
Right, so I'm someone that always believes that I want many people to just be able to do broken things across like multiple like deck archetypes. So I want to see more buffs, definitely more buffs than nerfs. Of course the Loki thing. Well, yeah, we need to take Loki down a peg, but like maybe we can take Loki down a peg by making a lot of things better. So I feel like maybe we can. I mean, I always wish that like they let Thanos come back into the game somehow. So maybe something to do with Thanos. Maybe I don't know. It's like move strategies. Like I miss playing my Silk move deck. I wanted like some
Yeah.
mid-range Silk style deck to get back on top. Maybe buff the baseline stats for some of the cards that are a bit less popular right now. And I mean, there's this one which I think needs a complete rework. Like Howard the Duck, can he do something else, please? Can he like do something else? Because like Neil, they did such a great job with Snow Guard. Like Snow Guard is now an actual powerhouse card, right? Like they could
It
really just
is.
make Howard an actually relevant card, or and basically make a non-relevant card relevant by just changing the entire card completely. That's what I want to see.
So I think two of the things you mentioned caught my interest here. The first is you're like, oh, I'd like Thanos to come back, and then you're like, oh, I'd like Silk Move to come back. And in the context of what you asked for, I feel like that's a roundabout way of saying you'd like a Loki nerf, because the
Yeah,
reason that Thanos can't be in the game right now is Loki, and the reason that Move Midrange can't be in the game right now is Loki. They both have too awful of Loki matchups with Mobius at 3 costs to ever justify playing them, which is a sort of awkward situation for them to be in. So I think that's number one on my patch list. This is I'd like them to do something about Loki because of the effect it has on the metagame. And if they don't do something about Loki in this patch, I think it becomes like a sort of like almost moral imperative to do something about it in the next one. Because I think at this point with Marvel Snap, it's been a little bit longer than I would have liked with Loki existing. And I think that my patch wish list definitely includes a change to Loki more than it includes basically anything else. There are a couple other things on that wish list, like maybe a change to Eliath or Professor X, make the game a little bit less annoying, something along those lines. But in terms of balance, and I guess in terms of avoiding metagame stagnation, I would love to see a change to Loki. One of the easiest ones that I've seen so far is literally just like, what happens if you just give him Shuri stats? What'll happen? I don't really know. But at this point, I think I'm interested in finding out.
yeah. My chat has always been telling me that they want a 5/5 Loki, a 5/5 Loki, so that like you literally can only play it on turn 5 and dump on 6, and you might not be able to dump everything at all. So I think that's okay as well. But making Loki like a Shuri stats means like 4041. Yeah, I think that would actually be quite impactful because playing Loki
Yeah.
is actually a negative tempo play right now, right? So if you play it as a 4/0, so or 4/1. Yeah, so I think that makes a lot of sense as well.
I think you could even go like, 4-2, right? Give it original Shuri stats and be like, all right,
Mm.
this is about fine. And I don't necessarily like I do think that would actually knock the deck off its perch for whatever that's worth. I do think that that is a very easily OTA-able problem that they can do even if they whiff on this patch because patches are locked in, forever ago.
That's true.
Next up, a new card is coming out in Marvel Snap. It is a 1 cost 4 power card that at the end of the game moves anywhere that you do not want it to move. It will try to lose you the game. It is, of course, called Martyr. And my major question here is what the hell were they thinking? Because whenever I look at the card, my first thought process is okay, it's a 1/4 that I want to be able to force not to move so I can get the value of playing a 1/4. I will fill up the board and that way I can play this 1/4 without it moving to kill me. And then you think, why would I play this 1/4 when I could fill up the board and just play Ant-Man, a 1/4 that is free, that you get for free when you start the game, and also benefits from you having filled up the board? I just don't know what they were cooking when it comes to Martyr. And it's one of those cards where it's like, why would this release in this form? What do you think they're going
Yeah.
for here, Lampy?
Or you could just literally play cards and not be forced to fill the board and still win, right? Like
Yeah.
instead of playing Martyr. Like okay, so firstly, the one I think saving grace of Martyr is that like it's beneficial in like a kazoo fill the whole board type deck. But like let's be real here, we have a Titania already. Titania also already fills the whole board and like it's slightly bigger, obviously with a bit of a downside. But like the downside of Martyr is so big. It's like you kind of must fill the board or you just throw the game, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I feel like that's too much to ask for a 1/4. Like, was it in the data mines? It was like a 2/6 or something like that initially.
it
So
was.
yeah, that is
It was
that
a
is
2/6.
different. That is very
It
different. A
is.
2/6 is very different from a 1/4. Like it's huge difference. So I feel like maybe like this card will release, see zero light of day, and then become a 2/6 again, and it will see some light of day. I think that might be where this is going. But currently, this card is like okay. So I've been unexcited for a few Marvel Snap cards before. I've been unexcited for Living Tribunal. I was weirdly unexcited for Man Thing, but this is the card that I think I'm the most unexcited for since like God knows when. Because like, oh my
Well,
gosh,
since
this
Gladiator, presumably.
I think Gladiator was actually okay for me, but like this one was
Okay.
like, wow. This one was when I looked at the card, I was like, am I reading this correctly? No, I'm not. It's just that.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my theory for why Martyr is the way that she is. Are you ready for this?
Let's
This
go.
is gonna be this is like there's no way this is true, but
Okay.
I kind of hope it is.
Okay.
Okay. So it was this 2/6 in the data mines, and it's a 1/4 now. Do you know what else went from 6 power to 4 power? Captain Marvel. So
Oh.
I think they were trying to mirror Captain Marvel's power, which, to be clear, I think is an incredibly dumb idea because these are two separate cards in a game that patches stuff often. Because it's like what? Next time Captain Marvel gets a buff, you're gonna buff Martyr too? Like at some point there's gonna be balance reasons why they can't have the same power. Why
Oh,
why
yeah.
would you go out of your way to do this? That's my theory. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Let's just go with that.
Next up, Darkhawk midrange has been succeeding for me as a deck probably more than it feels like it should recently, and I don't exactly understand why. I've been playing the Batman Annihilus build of Darkhawk midrange, and it did pretty well in the Impulse tournament as well. So I guess I'm going to ask you, is traditional Darkhawk back? Is it back? Can we free our boy from his cage?
Honestly, I don't think so. I personally think that the Darkhawk decks benefit a lot from one simple thing right now. It's because it can run Iron Lad, and Iron Lad decks can run Miss Marvel, and Miss Marvel is a good Iron Lad hit. So like it all just kind of ties in. And Miss Marvel is actually a card we can talk about a bit later that does benefit the Darkhawk deck because it's sufficient stats. So like it's significant stats. I don't think Darkhawk is back. I just think that Darkhawk is one of those decks that in this at least in this current meta game, it can't really truly be like horrible per se because it's just like stats, rocks to disrupt the opponent's deck, Zabu discounts into some stats, and then end off with a Doom, Aliyah, or whatever. It's just a mid-range deck. Like I think it's just the premier mid-range deck stats package of choice right now. Like it's flexible. You can put multiple different engines in it, right? You can go Bounce engine, you can go Annihilus engine, blah blah blah. But like I just think it's just gonna be around, floating around as a like a package. But I don't think it's actually supposed to be like all the way up there right now. I think it's just okay.
I think what I like about it is sometimes you just get free wins that you don't even know were free wins because of the rocks and the Black Widow, where it's just like you end up winning these games that you feel like you should have no right to win because your opponent lost 2 whole draws or whatever, didn't draw the Loki because you Black Widowed and Korged them or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And those are games that you don't exactly always pick up on. Like it over a longer period of time, you can start to notice like, hey, my disruption pays off. I can notice that like I'm just sort of like it feels like getting lucky. Does that make sense? Like when
Yeah.
you win one of these games, it feels like it's because you got lucky, but it's also because you made them get unlucky by, not letting them draw cards, things like that. And I think that's like a bit of an underappreciated part of the deck's power is you end up playing against a weakened version of your opponent a decent amount of the time, but you don't exactly know how weakened they are, which I think is a very interesting dynamic to put in a game like this where knowing how strong and weak your opponent is part of what makes you a good player and a good snapper especially. So I think Darkhawk gets a lot of value out of that in the sense that you are very often playing against a nerfed version of your opponent, and when you aren't, that means you need to be even more respectful of what your opponent's decks do, because the premise of the deck is that you will be sort of dragging your opponent down a little bit. So if they manage to pop off anyway, you generally have to be pretty respectful in those spots, I think.
I will want to say two things though that I think you mentioned, which I want to like add on to, which is I feel firstly
Go on.
Black Widow as a card now is actually really quite strong. Like I can feel the
Agreed.
difference with the buff right now with like the 2-1 into the -1 bite. Like it's firstly it's a bot clock, but it's a -1 bot clock, right? Which means that it's if there was actually nothing there previously, playing the Widow's Bite means you are losing that lane, which I think is actually something very significant, which means you actually have to invest one more resource there for sure, right? It's like it's a big deal over like a significant sample size. Also, I think you mentioned about like the whole snapping thing. I think Darkhawk decks generally have a decent win rate right now. So because it's one of those decks like in the game right now that's super easy to snap with, right? Korg, Zabu, Iron Lad snap, Korg, Zabu, Rockslide, Darkhawk snap. Like it's a easy to snap deck, and I feel like for the average to slightly above average player, having an easy to snap deck is very beneficial on ladder and in conquest, because like at the end of the day you have less influential decisions, and you just know what are the influential decisions, and it's always almost the same. So I feel like being able to snap effectively with Darkhawk is easier than some of the other decks, like obviously Loki, and I think that does obviously help its win rate quite a bit.
One other thing that I've been noticing is that I think, although we both agree that Loki is the best deck, you ask your average top player, they'll tell you Loki is the best deck. I feel like neither of us see it in the amount that you would expect the dominant best deck to exist, which is so odd. And I'm kind of proposing a theory here. This is the theory of Loki fatigue, which is it's been so long with Loki that everyone in the top ranks is just like, I'm so sick of playing this guy at this point because I've been playing him and only him for 2.5 months or whatever it is. Now it's time to just like at least play something else, see what else we can do. And that means that Loki ends up underrepresented relative to its power. Do you think my theory has any legs, or am I just talking out of my ass?
I actually think this is like 100% true, or like at least 90% true, because like honestly, okay, so I play like about like half an hour to an hour of ladder a day strictly just to maintain my rank 1. Fun fact, I'm rank 1 again right now, haha. But like yeah, so I play like about half an hour to an hour of ladder just to maintain my rank 1, and I will force myself to play Loki because it's just the best deck. Like I will force myself at this point to play the deck because I know that it just wins if you know what you're doing. But it's because, like I said, I have to force myself to do it because I think we've really had Loki for too long, and like a lot of these like top players that I've talked to and played against, they are like even subconsciously trying their best to play other things and hoping it beats Loki. I think that's what they really want to do right
Yep.
now. Like, I've talked to so many players, they're like playing Junk, they're playing Bounce, they're playing Hawk, they're playing whatever. Like they just want to try their best not to play Loki and try to win by not playing Loki. Because I think really everyone is just a little bit like, alright, we know this deck is good, we know it's difficult to play. If I really had like so much stakes on the line, I obviously will play this deck. But let's be real here. Can we just play another best deck right now? Like, can we just like find the next best deck? Now, like honestly, as a streamer, a competitor, content creator, like on stream, Loki is the hardest thing to play effectively because you gotta interact with chat, you gotta interact with the deck, interact with your opponents, and like Loki is so unforgiving, and it's honestly not easy to play when you have so many things going on. So I feel like it's actually a relatively stressful deck to play effectively well. And like over long periods of time, I feel like all right, I think it's enough. It's enough. Can we just get like the next best deck to be like Korg, Zabu Rocks, like Darkhawk Snap? Like the next best deck, do that. Just do that. Like literally, please give me a deck that just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, snap, 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 snap. Like I want one of those metas back again, just because we haven't had it for such a long time.
What if that deck was Brood Abs?
Oh shit.
Would you
Okay,
still
no,
take
I
that
take
trade?
that back. No Brood Apps. That's too much. Too much. 29 stats on turn 4. Anyone can do that. That's too much for me. No. A bit less than that.
Oh, okay. So like you want it to be hard enough that you can do it easily,
Yes.
but other people
Like
can't.
I can
This is
identify
perfect
that
of
it's
perfect.
time, but you probably can't. And okay, yeah.
The game should be balanced around you specifically.
I mean, that would benefit me, right? Obviously, so I
It
can't
would.
say no.
I can't fault you.
Can't say
It
no.
would definitely benefit you if the game was balanced around you specifically.
Of course.
So Miss Marvel is a card that reactions on have been polarized to a degree that confuses me, because to me, I look at her and she's a very straightforward card. Okay, that's a 415. You can get her 415 by doing things you mostly do already. So how do we make this 415 good? that's usually how I look at her. But I've seen people in my chat be like, no, this card is really bad. It's not actually worth investing in. And I've seen people in my chat be like, yo, this card is really good. I can't believe they released another pay to win snap card. Oh my God. And my basic impression of Miss Marvel is the lower your collection level, the better she is relative to other options. And only at the like top end of collection level do you end up in a spot where Miss Marvel is like a balanced, if not like, fairly medium addition to most of the decks that she goes in. What are your thoughts on Miss Marvel, her dynamics, and general player perception?
So I find it very interesting that there's actually a group of players that think this card is actually bad. Like, let me get it out of
I
the way here first, because like I think Miss Marvel cannot be bad. It's not a bad card. Like you said, 415, like in its like full potential is a lot of stats for a 4-cost card, right? I mean, to me, it was never Elsa levels of broken, which is why I don't think it's also something that deserves to be like, oh, pay to win card. No, please. No, I don't think it's that kind of card. I just think it's like, it's a good card that needs you to like play a certain way. And because you need to play a certain way, it's also semi-telegraphed, which means good players will know how to retreat. They don't let themselves get completely dominated by Miss Marvel and be like, oh, Miss Marvel just came out of nowhere. You knew it was coming, bro. Come on. But like, so I think like, I don't think it's one of
hold
those
on,
cards.
hold
Yeah.
on,
What?
hold on. Are
What?
you
What?
telling me I have to play around Miss Marvel when my opponent plays Zabu?
No,
That's
no.
crazy.
I
Are you
honestly,
are you telling me
honestly, at this point, every Zabu deck has Miss Marvel. So like, I think it's possible. It's
I'm playing the only Zabu deck that doesn't right now. On like that's my ladder
okay.
deck. It's the only Zabu deck that doesn't. Yeah, I can tell how much you're into that right now. You're like, why would you ever play a Zabu deck without it? And I think that speaks to her power, right?
Yeah,
Like
she's a
you're
good
like
card.
I'm talking about playing a Zabu deck without her, and you're like, why would you ever do that? That's a 415.
Yeah, it's a good card. It fits. It's like I don't think it's broken because like I said, it's telegraphed. But the card is just it's good, right? Like I think we deserve good cards in Marvel Snap, but it's not broken to the point whereby it needs to be nerfed. It's a telegraphed card. It's a good card. It's like mini Doctor Doom of sorts. Like it's a 4 energy Doctor Doom a lot of the time, and which allows you to play like another Doctor Doom on turn 6. And people love covering all 3 lanes. So like, come on, this card just fits into everybody's like ideal deck choice, like which is like energy cheat Zabu, and then you play Miss Marvel, you play Iron Lad, you play Hawk, you play Doom. Like it's that kind of deck. Like people love this kind of stuff, and I think it's just like so much stats. Yeah, the card is good. It's not broken, and it's obviously not bad.
Next up, I have a question that I think absolutely nobody is asking
Yep.
except me. Where'd ramp go? Remember when we could play Electro? Like, remember when you would see someone playing Electro and they would be playing Electro, the card Electro, totally unironically? They'd just be like playing on Electro ramp strategy. Where'd it go? I miss you so. Seems like it's been forever
Oh, I knew
since
this was
you've been
coming.
gone.
I had a feeling this was coming. I knew when you started the first line, but like,
Really?
yeah, I know the song, but like, okay, so
Okay.
I actually agree with you that no one is really asking this question, but I kind of know the answer if someone were to ask this question. It's because Electro is like the ramp deck's like best turn 3, right? And what is one of the best 3-cost cards that got released in like recent history? It's the Werewolf. Like, if you play Electro, they play Werewolf. So Electro into turn 4 Sandman, it's usually the best play line, right? By the time you play the Sandman on turn 4, they probably bounce the Werewolf like 2 or 3 times. It's too big. They develop werewolf stats, they develop extra stats with the on reviews, and by the time the Sandman drops, you're already in like a losing position. It's a bit like werewolf on 3 is the new Mysterio monkey on 5 versus wave kind of thing. Because it just gets completely like spammed before your floodgate come out in the Sandman. So like I think that's one of the reasons why Electro Ramp cannot really seem to like get a grip or like get a hold of the meta right now, because like your so-called Mysterio monkey turn is effectively a werewolf into on reviews on turn 4.
So my thought is actually that it's Loki related, which is to say, like, okay, I'm gonna Sandman you. I'm sacrificing my early game to go Electro into Sandman. I'm playing maybe only a Nebula with it if I get lucky. And then the Loki player is just like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play like Collector, Werewolf, and then Loki you because I don't need a bunch of your cards. I just need a couple sixes. And then they play a 6-on-5 and then a 6-on-6, and you're just like, what was even the point of me trying to restrict your gameplay when you can just turn your deck into my deck and play my cards that are meant for the situation wherein I restrict your gameplay? It's just a very bad matchup on multiple levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really just this deck, right? I feel like most decks in the meta, if they see literally Collector, Werewolf into Loki, like, I feel like they just
Yeah.
die. So like Ramp is
Well,
just
even
a
just the
victim.
card Loki though. Because like you're gonna have more stats just doing things as the Loki gamer,
That's
and you
true.
play the card Loki. Like Loki has more stats than Sandman right now. First of all, everything you do on 3 has more stats than Electro, and just literally just playing cards
That's
into
true. That's
Loki,
true.
you're
That's
gonna be
true.
ahead and have their cards that they want to play in that situation. And it's just like, what's even the point?
Yeah. I miss Ram though. I wish it could come back.
Yeah, that's your dumb guy deck. Just
Yeah.
just just play Electro into stuff.
And just win.
Like
Yeah, just
that's
win. Electro Sandman, Doom
that's
Odin.
oof.
Easy.
Oof. Next up, let's talk engines. There are 2 main engines in Marvel Snap right now, and there's actually some overlap between them. In my opinion, the first metagame engine you need to understand is the bounce shell, and that is, of course, Nico Minoru, Werewolf by Night in the Falcon Beast bounce shell. Common offenders found with them include Korg. Some of the time when you're playing Darkhawk include Forge. Most of the time in basically every list, actually. And of course, the Hood tends to make an appearance in a lot of bounce decks as well. In addition, there is the Darkhawk core, Zabu, Iron Lad, and of course, Rock Slide tend to make up that. There is some overlap, right? The Darkhawk bounce list plays bounce without the Darkhawk core. It is kind of an interesting adaptation, actually. And of course, I think those are the 2 major mid-range shells that you see in Marvel Snap right now. They are the dominant places to start and build outward from, and starting there and building outward has yielded most of the best decks in the game. Are there any other engines that you particularly want to highlight, or do you have any insights to offer on the 2 that we have mentioned already?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna talk a bit more about those 2 later in a bit, but
Okay.
I feel I just want to highlight first another one, which is like the whole Storm Jeff thing. Like Storm Miss Marvel,
Right.
Storm led Miss Marvel, that whole thing. Like Nebula, Storm Jeff, Miss Marvel can be seen in a multitude of decks, right? Like obviously that's a lockdown shell, but like some top ends have like Gamora, some top ends Prof, some have both. Some have like even Psylocke to get the turn 4 fake Thanos
I like
Professor
that.
on 4. Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah,
Quite a
fake
bit.
Thanos, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like fake Thanos. So basically, it's like the lockdown shell is like very enabled by Miss Marvel because like you just can play for all 3, right? Even in the locked lane of the Storm itself. And of course, Iron Lad fits perfectly in that deck because you got a lot of big cards. You got Doom, you got Prof, you got Alioth. So yeah, that's like the third engine. I think that's very common right now. I want to talk a bit also about the bounce engine, which is that I think that engine is the most flexible one we've had in a while because firstly, like you said, it's like
Yeah.
the one cost. Okay, Falcon Beast is like yeah, fine standard, but like and Werewolf obviously the hard carry. But like the actual 1-drops that you play really make a difference, right? Like some people go for absurd destruction with like Iceman, Spider Ham, maybe even sometimes Black Widow in a non-hawk deck. I've seen that before. You play Annihilus Bounce as well, right? Because Hood just naturally fits into that
Yeah.
scenario. If you don't draw Annihilus, you can use Beast to bounce your Void, that kind of thing. So it's super, super flexible. I think the Zabu engine is like, I mean, it's the Zabu engine. It's been there since the dawn of this year. So like I think the Zabu engine needs no real explanation. It's just really because Mobius is like almost non-existent that the Zabu engine gets to come out and play. But yeah, no, I think the bounce engine is really the best thing that can be run in most shells right now, and it's super flexible. Like really just because the 1-cost cards are so flexible. And like I think I want to give a super, super huge shout out to like Nico Minoru as a card. Like she has
Yes.
made Forge a monster. Because you can go like Forge into like Nico double power. That's a 1/8 by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Nico's demon spell, turning your Alioth on turn 6 into a 1/6 after you blow up their lane is monstrous as well, for example. So Nico's just like a god card, I feel. Like she's like a good god card. She doesn't need to be nerfed. She doesn't really need to be like whatever. She doesn't need to buff or nerf, but like she's just in a good spot right now as a flexible toolbox, a little bit of RNG dependent good card. And I think she has really enabled the bounce shells to be super, super powerful.
I agree because a lot of the time when you're playing her, because you have a beast or a falcon in hand, you just get to be like, I'm gonna take whatever gives me like just free value off this
Yes.
card and then bounce it back, right?
Yes.
And then once you bounce it back, you're looking for one of the broken things. You're looking for the demon. You're looking for the double with the forge. You're
Yeah.
looking for in some cases the draw two, but once you're bouncing, it ends up being a little less likely to look for the draw
Mm-hmm.
two. And just being able to play Nico like 2 or 3 times a game is actually legitimately pretty messed up. Like it is
Yeah.
a card that I am very excited to bounce a lot of the time. Like that is a really strong card.
I've played like after playing Nico multiple times, she ended up being like a 116 in one game. I have no idea how it ended up being a 116, but she was a 116. And like one thing that
Shuri's
people,
Lab
yeah, I
Forge?
guess. One thing
Yeah.
people overlook with the Nico card is that because every time you return the card to your hand, she continues to rotate her spells, and it
Yeah,
cannot be repeated. So I've done
correct.
this a lot of times whereby like I intentionally bounced her back and just held her as long as I could because I really wanted that location changes
Yeah.
spell to turn off the limbo. It's like an actual out because you know it's not gonna rotate back into something else you've seen already. So it's
Yeah.
like instead of like a 1 in 7, it's like a 1 in 3 after 6 turns, that kind of thing. So like I don't know the math, but like it's just a good card.
No, it's a very, very powerful card.
All right, so with our final topic, recently most people had Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but I know KM did celebrate Thanksgiving. So I just want to check with you. What else are you actually thankful for outside of like just like life? What are you thankful for in Marvel Snap in general right now?
So the question, what am I thankful for in Marvel Snap? Obviously, I'm grateful to everyone who has supported me along the way, everyone who subscribes, Twitch, everyone who follows on YouTube. All of that stuff is incredibly meaningful to me. A special shout out to the besties, which is what I call my Twitch subs. Big shout out there. Anyone who financially supports my ability to play video games for a job is I'm eternally grateful for that. In Marvel Snap, I think let's get specific about like things I'm grateful for in the game of Marvel Snap. I think right now I'm grateful for, if I had to name one card specifically, I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for Black Widow. I'm grateful for
Ooh.
Black Widow. Like I have had more fun playing Black Widow right now than I basically ever have. She's become like a real snap condition in some of these bounce decks for
Mm-hmm.
me. Like if I see a hand with Black Widow and Beast, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna win this game. Like that is two draws you don't get. I'm snapping that.
Hell
Like
yeah, hell yeah.
I have chosen to play Black Widow over Zabu on turn 2 in Zabu decks. Like I
Mhm.
am probably more into that card than almost anyone else. Like it is a card that I consistently feel like I'm rating a little bit higher than anyone else is actually rating her right now. And it's frustrating because she's been so bad for so long that like it almost feels fake that I think she's this good right now, but cutting people off of a draw right now has never felt better, and I don't exactly understand why.
Yeah, I firstly want to echo your sentiments on Black Widow, which I already mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, which that yeah, I think now she's actually very impactful. Like the bite as well, being a negative one right now, you feel the impact very heavily when
Yeah.
it's played on the board right now also. But yeah, just wanna just do this last part because I think I'm also very thankful in general for the Marvel Snap. Like being able to do Marvel Snap, being able to do gaming for a living, like streaming and stuff like that. Shout out to my Lamb fam, my Discord community, my Twitch subs, my Twitch community, for always supporting whatever I do. Also, I just want to say, like in Marvel Snap, like since you mentioned cards, I'm very, very, very happy for cards like Legion, Snowguard, and also like I mentioned, Nico Minoru. I love these kind of like I get to do different things with one card kind of cards. Like then maybe that's why I really love Thanos as well because like there's so many things you can do with the stones in the past. Now not so much, but like in the past, like you had so much options with the stones. So like
Now you
yeah,
have 4 different ways to lose to Loki.
yeah, and now you have two less cards that draw. I mean, one less card that draws. Okay, but anyway, let's not talk about Soulstone right now. Let's not. That makes me sad. This is Thanksgiving, but like so, like, I like Nico. I like Snowguard. I like Legion. These kind of cards that let you play in different ways based on different locations and different like effects and settings and matchups. Yeah, so I love these kind of cards. So yeah, thank you for creating these cards. And I think the most overarching topic that I want to just talk about is that I'm so thankful this game has a snap mechanic. Like I like the fact that we can ante up, like this is missing from
Yes.
every like card game. Like I've played so many card games. Hearthstone, there's no anteing up. Like I don't even think there's anteing up in like MTG and stuff like that, right? There's no like upping the stakes and
There
whatever.
was a mechanic called ante in like
Oh really?
1994 that
Okay.
yeah, you would actually gamble cards from your deck. The
Wait, what?
idea was that whoever won would literally leave with your opponent's cards.
What?
And they got rid of it very, very fast.
No shit,
Everyone kind
obviously.
of hated it. But yes, like that used to be a mechanic in Magic when
Wow.
I was like a child. I was maybe not even born. I'm not actually sure when it was a mechanic. It was very, very early on.
Okay, okay. That'll be interesting to experience as adults who can buy cards, but as kids, I mean, like, come on, man, that's so brutal. That's just so brutal.
You go to the local game store
And you
for your
lose your
first
deck.
ever tournament, and your whole deck.
It's gone. That's such a sad, sad situation, and it's actually a
Uh,
rule. Imagine that.
that's so sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so sick. What a great idea. All right, y'all. That's going to be it from us. One final thing we are thankful for is you. Thank you so
Yes.
much for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications on my channel. You can find other episodes of 8 Cubes on Lamby's channel. Lamby, take us out.
If you like what you just saw, what you just heard, do follow, subscribe, and give us a like on our video. Make sure to check us out on all our other platforms as well. See you guys soon.